Welcome back Salty Gamers to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Farming Guide 2023 on my channel. So let's get into it. Full disclaimer before I start, I'm by no means an expert in the game, but I do have a particular take on what journey would be best to make an efficient account that you could then steer off to whatever journey you wish to undertake. So phase 1, we'll start by building a Jedi team with Ahsoka, Anakin and Old Ben, bringing in Qui-Gon, Mace Windu and then one other Jedi that we'll come to later on because they're unlocked later on. We'll also start building our trooper team with Stormtrooper. So how are we going to do this? We'll start farming Ahsoka on our light side, 1B hard, then Jedi Knight Anakin on dark side 1B. Old Ben will be unlocked in the Cantina once we unlock that about level 14, and we'll take him all the way up to 7 stars for raids. That will also give us Cantina currency, and the best way to farm him would be to use all your crystals that you gain free in-game to do refreshes in Cantina only. Because we want to get him up to 7 stars as fast as possible to unlock the raid rewards. Once you get him to 7 stars, you could use your crystals where you deem fit, or you could bank them and save them later on, depending on how fast you want to progress the game. So we unlock Stormtroopers, first 50 shards out of the Cantina shop, and then we switch to Qui-Gon. We unlock Qui-Gon to 3 stars, and then we'll start switching back and forward between Ahsoka and Qui-Gon, which will become more apparent in the later phases. Once Squadron Arena shop is unlocked and you start getting enough currency for it, it might take you a wee while because you get dropped in at rank 10,000. We'll start unlocking Mace Windu, and we'll also get more shards free through doing the tutorial events about level 48. To unlock Darkside battles, you'll need 3 Darkside characters, all of which will be Moff Gideon and Dark Trooper, who you get given. You also get given Kylo, and you might unlock another couple through Bronzium packs, which is the free packs that you can do with in-game currency. So unless they're troopers, only level Moff Gideon and Dark Trooper, you should be able to get Jedi Knight Anakin's node unlocked with just leveling up they two and only using them in the battles. You don't need to use a third. The third is only there to open up. So phase 2 then, we're continuing on with Jedi Knight Anakin. We moved Stormtrooper to light side 3C, and hopefully with your Jedi team built up, you should have unlocked Iden Versio, or at least be working towards her on light side 4D. The level that we want to be around or start doing this is above, which is 18 to 49, so it's along the top here for a point of reference. We'll then have, because we'll have Old Ben at 7 stars, we'll switch our Cantina farm to Geonosian Soldier, and this is because we'll be using his ship later on. So we've got Old Ben at 7 stars, so we can now start accessing the guild the guild activity store, which will get certain currency. Mark 1 for the pit and the tank raids. If we're doing heroic raids, we need Old Ben at 7 stars. If we're doing a normal raid, which at my guild currently is doing normal Sith raid because that's the best raid that we could possibly do at the moment, we only need characters at 6 stars. Therefore, Old Ben could be at 6 stars and still be giving us the raid rewards, which works massively into this farming guide. So what do we farm with this new currency? We're going to farm out Colonel Stark and Snowtrooper with the Mark 1 currency. Just get them unlocked, so get Colonel Stark to unlock, which is 4 stars, and then bring Snowtrooper around to 4 stars to begin with, and we'll eventually build them up to get them to 7 stars. If you've got loads of currency left over, just keep building them up, but we could put in one other farm. You could start it earlier which will become more apparent later on in the later phases. But if you're able to do the Sith raid normal, you start getting Mark II currency also. Therefore you could buy Wampa, Hermit Yoda or Rebel Officer Leia with that currency. You get about 2,000 of that currency, so you could buy 5 shards every raid of one of the Wampa or Hermit Yoda. If you're going for the Galactic Legend, I recommend start this as soon as you get the guild currency. You'll unlock it in no time at all. Moving on then, by level 40 you'll have unlocked Galactic War. So the first phases of Galactic War is a 12 battle game mode where you need to go from left to right, clearing all the nodes to get the maximum amount of currency, which is a lot of credits, some character shards and Galactic War currency. Our initial Galactic War currency will go on Luminara and Magma Trooper. We'll unlock Magma Trooper to go into our Iden team, but we'll also be primarily putting it all into Luminara to get that unlock of her, and then we'll switch between it. If you feel clear, you get 1200 currency, so you could put 2 to Luminara, 1 to Magma Trooper and switch it out. Do what you find is best depending on how your other farms are going. We're going to switch between Ahsoka and Qui-Gon in the Cantina shop, like I stated in the previous phase, and we'll continue farming Mace Windu out of the squad arena. So within a week you should have near enough unlocked, and then the extra shards will just bolt on to whatever you've actually put on them in the initial farming of him out the store. And that will sort of give us a baseline of Jedi and Troopers. The Trooper team with Iden, Stormtrooper, Stark, Snowtrooper and Magma Trooper should clear without much hassle at 4 stars gear 7 the whole of Galactic War, unless you get rubbish nodes to go through. So it's a good baseline, and then your Jedi team can maybe mop up some as well. Into phase 3, we start our prep for ships. So ships is massive in this, and you need to get a fleet challenge done so that you could unlock what's called Zetas, and they unlock unique abilities for characters which are very important, and we want to unlock them as soon as possible, hopefully as soon as the event unlocks if you've geared them right and you have the right resources. If not, then you would potentially unlock it not long after that, but hopefully before level 85. So how are we going to do this? We're going to use Geo ships. We've already farmed our Geonos and the Soldier up to almost 7 stars or at 7 stars. If we finish Soldier, we're going to move on to TIE Pilot and Geo Spy. Depending on how your battles go, if you can't clear the node, farm the one that you can first, get them up to 7 stars, then get the other one. You get given TIE Pilot shards out of the tutorial events as well as his ship, and then you get and you only have to unlock Spy, and you don't get his ship until you unlock fleet currency. So once you get to level 60, that's when you start unlocking the ships in the Galactic War store, so you might want to hold off on Geo Spy and do more Imperial TIE Pilot so that his ship's ready to go as soon as you get fleet battles unlocked, and then work on Spy afterwards. If you look on to the right now, we've got our Jedi lineup. Now this isn't in the order of leadership. I would put Old Ben as leader, or Mace Windu, depending on how you want to level them. But this is to unlock Grandmaster Yoda, who will be our first journey character in the guide. We're only going to unlock him at 5 stars to begin with, and then push him to 7 stars, because all these Jedi will be easily farmed once we get Galactic War turning through with the 1200 currency coming in. They're all store farms and all Ben's already done in the cantina, so we shouldn't have to take away from any other farms to get these done. So if we might have to put more gear in, we might not be able to get Grandmaster Yoda at 7 stars below level 50, so we'll unlock them as high as we can. If you can get 6, get 6, but keep building up this team to get the Grandmaster Yoda unlocked. We'll also have our trooper team going, and we'll use that to either unlock our 2 at 5 stars if we're lucky enough with our drops with Iden, who will be the longest farm alongside Stormtrooper, and if we've not unlocked R2, we'll at least use these nodes to get crystals and extra credits until we can unlock them. That being said, if you're finished off Qui-Gon or Ahsoka, take away your farm from Stormtrooper and the hard nodes, put them back in the cantina as your secondary farm. Primarily dealing with the Jedi first, and then finish off Stormtrooper in the cantina store as we started them. We should hopefully have unlocked Darkside 5 by level 49 and get to the hard nodes relatively easy with Iden's troopers. I forgot to mention we're farming a ship on Iden's node as well. So we're just to go back into phase 2, the Vulture Droid, that's a separatist ship that works alongside the Geonosian ships, so that will be our 4th ship for our initial fleet, of which we'll come into in phase 4. So farming her node will give us that ship, which is why I chose to go with Iden first instead of other guides that choose to go with the more traditional route of General Veers, Piet, Range Trooper, Dark Trooper and Moff Gideon. We should have finished Mace Windu or thereabouts in the squad store, so we're going to move him from out of there, and then we're starting to farm Grand Moff Tarkin. He's going to be our first capital ship pilot that we're going to use, of which we need for the Zeta event. So we're going to prioritise that fleet along with the Geos. So why are we farming Bastila? Our leadership ability works tremendous for Galactic War, so it will give us another strong team for Galactic War. Galactic War is going to have to be played from level 40 all the way through to level 85. So we need as many strong teams as we can, so that we know we can full clear it each day. It gives you 500,000 credits. So we need them. Just move this along. We need them ready to go, and the credits just keep churning in and give us a good bank. So Basila's leadership gives extra protection, which is like a shield for the Jedi, and that's why we want her as lead. So we would switch her out and put Grandmaster Yoda in it also to start utilising that team. So the team would be Bastila, Qui-Gon, Luminara, Ahsoka, and Grandmaster Yoda. Any variation of that team, whatever works best for yourselves, and then you should be able to clear or use that team to mop up anything the troopers can't get through. Moving on to phase 4. You should have unlocked, by level 50 you unlock mods, so you want to unlock 5 dot mods as soon as possible. Basila's Jedi and the Imperial Trooper team, Iden Troopers, should clear the battles no problem, and then you unlock the 5-star node, the 5 dot nodes, and start farming them out as much as possible. So our fleet at level 60 this is how it should look. We should have TIE Pilot. It'll only be at 1 or 2 stars initially when we first unlock it, but we're going to farm that on Fleet Node Hard 1C. That is very early on, and with the team that we're building we should be able to get to that node fairly easy. And we'll farm that up until we max it out. We'll also farm it out the fleet store when it appears in the fleet store. Geo Soldier and Geo Spy will be found in the War Store and the Fleet Store. We're getting Vulture Droid on Iden's node, and then preferably we can do Sun Fac ship or the TIE Bomber. TIE Bomber takes 80 shards to unlock and it's on a hard mode, so it takes some time. Sun Fac ship appears in the Fleet Store and the Guild Store. That's the Guild Event Store, not the Guild Activity Store. Sun Fac himself is currently always farmable in the Guild Store, the Guild Activity Store, the same part as Snowtrooper and Colonel Stark is. So you could change your farm and build him up if you're going after his ship. If not, go for Imperial TIE Bomber, and that will also unlock Queel, who's used for Beskar Mando. The choice is yours, but you need a 5th ship, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I would recommend Sun Fac to go into your fleet because of the synergy with the other 2 Geos plus Vulture Droid. So we've finished off our hard mode farms and near enough finished Iden, or have already finished off Iden, so we're out of hard mode farms to farm. For dark side, we want to do Bastila to finish off, and then Anakin and Jolee are your secondary farms. So when you've got extra energy on the day, that's when you want to farm them. And then we could start farming out Zalbar and Mission on light side, and this gives us our light side battle for dailies and one more requirement for Jedi Knight Raven, along with Jolee, who's also a requirement for Jedi Knight Raven. Mission and Zalbar aren't the best characters, but because they have scoundrel tags, they can be used in events such as Credit Heist. So although they're not the best characters, they're used for Jedi Knight Raven unlock, as well as they can be used in the Credit Heist, so they'll get double use early on and they'll fall off later on if you don't choose to use them. But we're going to need them for Jedi Knight Raven, so we'd be as well making use of them whilst we're building them. Once Tarkin, Ahsoka and Qui-Gon and the troopers are finished in their respected farms, we're going to switch to the following farms. We're going to get Princess Leia out of the squad arena, we're going to get Stormtrooper Han out of the cantina, and then we're going to focus on young Han and original Han out of the Guild Activity Store. Now, you can, depending on your currency, start unlocking them early on. It would be highly recommended because he's 700 currency, that you could, as soon as you get the Guild Activity tokens, Guild Mark 1 tokens, you buy at least one of him a day, and then the rest on the other characters. Work it to suit, but you want to bring up your Iden troopers first, and then you can focus all energy or all tokens onto Han. It just speeds up one farm or the other. It's up to your own personal preference there. Phase 5 then. Our hard mode farms are Iden, if we've not finished her out already. Mission Zalbar, Jolee Bindo, and then Anakin on the side, but he's not a priority because we've already unlocked Jedi Master Luke. He could be finished off later on. Cantina farms, there's 2 ways of doing this since the changes. We could either go back and farm Fanboy Luke, or we could buy him out the store if you've got extra currency out the Guild Activity Store, because he's there all the time. So that's a choice that you can make depending on where you want to put your farm. If you're not quite finished off Spy or TIE Pilot, you could start farming out Luke in the Guild Activity if you've got extra currency. Again, personal preference, but once you've finished all the pilots, you want to come back over and do Farmboy Luke. Squad Arena and Cantina Store will still be Leia and Han. War and Fleet Stores will be the ships. I put in Sun Fac there because that's my recommended. You'll probably still be farming Iden, just to keep bringing that Vulture Droid up. The higher you get it, the more benefit you get from it. Guild Activity Store will be Young Han and Original Han until they're maxed out, and that will become more apparent later on. So, throughout all this farming, will be around 70 to 80. We want to start focusing on the following teams. CLS, so Commander Luke Skywalker. We've been building towards this the whole journey. We might be able to unlock him depending on gear and RNG. You might be able to unlock him before level 85. Depending on how many shards of Iden you've got. If you've 7-starred Iden, you'll definitely be able to get CLS unlocked prior to level 85. If Iden's lacking on the shards because you've got poor drop rates, then it might be slightly longer, because we need R2 at 7 stars. All this team needs to be at 7 stars, and you can probably get away with about gear 9, which doesn't take a lot to get because they don't have any Chirotech usage prior to Relic. Therefore you should be able to clear that event and unlock Commander Luke Skywalker, who, if you've unlocked Han Solo, will go in a team with them. Our 2 unlock team, we've been using it throughout, so it speaks for itself. That should clear that event, no problem. We just need to start counting them. So we're also going to go for, so we went for CLS and we went for with R2. I've mentioned Jedi Knight Raven, but I've not really put his requirements in here yet, because we're not finished getting the requirements. But before we go for Starkiller requirements, because that's going to be the third journey character, fourth journey character that we go for. We're going to go for Grandmaster Yoda, followed by R2, followed by CLS, followed by Jedi Knight Raven, followed by Starkiller. So our fifth journey guide character is going to be Starkiller. That's who I recommend. If you choose not to go for them, you can go for other things. You can stop at CLS. It's your own choice of how far you follow this journey. But if you take it this far, you've unlocked CLS, you've unlocked Jedi Knight Raven, I would say a logical step would be to unlock Starkiller, and this is with Grand Arena in mind. So with Starkiller we need Mara Jade, Kyle Katarn, Dash Rendar and Darth Talon. 3 of them are Cantina farms, 1 is a hard mode farm. So how do we prioritise? We need to finish off T3 first before we even think about doing Starkiller. T3 is a Cantina farm on 6 Bravo, which is used for Jedi Knight Raven unlock. If we finished any of these farms down here, we start filtering in Mara Jade. Mara Jade will be using an Empire team and is even usable low gear. You can unlock her at 2 stars, 3 stars first, just to make use of her in an Empire squad if you wish, which I'll touch on at the end. But this is when I would recommend starting to farm her out for Starkiller. Juhani will get farmed out. She's a Darth Revan requirement, but she's utilised in the Jedi Knight Revan team. The teams will become more apparent at the end. And then Vandor Chewie, who could be our dark side farm once Jedi Knight Anakin's finished with. He'll go in our Scoundrel team, or if you're still needing a Scoundrel, farm him to unlock him so we could use him for Credit Heist. The priority isn't as much on Credit Heist as it used to be because of the changes to the Guild Activity Store, which I'll touch on at the end. So shop farms will continue to be Young Han and Han. If they're not, once one of them are finished, move on to low grey. If Han's finished soon, you could choose to go for one of the other raid characters that you want to go for. Okay, phase 7. We're level 80 to 85. We want to start looking at unlocking Jedi Knight Raven, which you can't unlock until level 85. But you could have all the requirements ready to go by level 85. So as soon as you hit 85, you could do the event and get them unlocked. So finish off these farms, that's what I'm meaning by unlock Jedi Knight Revan. Have the farms finished, ready to unlock them at 85. So what do we do in the meantime if we're not quite level 85 yet? We could go and unlock the Emperor using the team of CLS, Ben R2, Han Solo and young Luke or any other rebel. So that will unlock the Emperor. You could do that at any stage with your rebels. You can unlock them as early on as possible, but if you've not unlocked them already, unlock them now. Cantina farms will be Dash, then Kyle, then Darth Talon, and that is because Dash could be used for your Scoundrel team, Kyle Katarn's used in a Rebel Trooper team, and Darth Talon's used in a Sith team. So therefore Dash will give you more utility early on than the other two. Our hard mode farms, if we've finished everything on the left, will be Mara Jade. Get her to 7 stars. She works fantastic with the Emperor. So utilise her straight away as soon as you've unlocked her, and just keep building her up. Even if you weren't to go for Star Killer, if you're doing any team with the Emperor in it, I would highly recommend getting Mara Jade. So then we finish off Juhani, ready for that Jedi Knight Revan unlock, and we get Vandor Chewie up, and he'll go in with Dash Rendar, young Han, Vandor Chewie, and then 2 others. Okay then, phase 8, we're level 85 now, and we need to start thinking GAC. GAC is just unlocked, Grand Arena, therefore we need to have teams for it. So these are some recommended teams of what we've built. Our first Omicron should be Qui-Gon. We built our Jedi team up early on. We should bring all our teams up to Gear 12 at least, if you can, get them to Relic, but prioritise your relics to those in a journey guide, or a journey that you're going for. So we could have a Qui-Gon Omicron team. If you get this early on, within the first 1 or 2 Grand Arenas, then you're cooking with gas, right in front defensive wall, and opponents will really struggle to get through that. Iden troopers could also go on defence or offence, but I would put them on defence, and if you could get an Omicron for Iden as well, then that's 2 solid front defensive walls that a lot of early game players that are around the same as yourself will extremely struggle with. The higher up players might be able to clear them, but you'll be able to clear a lot of the casual players and a lot of the players that haven't invested in teams to beat them. I have just gotten into Bronzium with a year and a half old account. I have a Gear 10 Iden with the Omicron and Gear 7 and 8 troopers, and they're still getting holds even in Bronzium with the Omicron, so they're definitely a force to be reckoned with, and it catches a lot of players off guard. Geonosians, they still get holds as well for me on that account. You can build that up for your back wall. It's quite deceiving if they're on the back, because they waste teams that they don't think they need for them, and then they come up against them and they end up wasting more teams for them. So if you built up the rest of the Geos, you could easily look to build up the full Geo team and use that as one of your back walls. If you don't want to build up your Geos, you've got other options, and you could use them in offense or defense. But you could have Jedi Knight Revan with Jolee, Juhani, Basil and Grandmaster Yoda, which is why we unlock Grandmaster Yoda first. If you don't want to use Juhani, you could, and you farmed out General Kenobi, then you could fire General Kenobi in either of the Qui-Gon team or the Jedi Knight Revan team, I would recommend putting him in with the Qui-Gon team because he synergises well with Ahsoka and Anakin. Mainly Ahsoka, I think she hits 3 times if General Kenobi's there, twice if Anakin's there on her second ability. So you could fire Mace across to your Jedi Knight Revan team and put General Kenobi in your Qui-Gon team. So I would prioritise that. General Kenobi is your second big farm out of the Galactic, the Guild Activity Store. We'll have CLS, which could be put on offense, and yeah, we don't have Chewie or Chewpio in there quite yet, but that team could start doing some damage early on, and then you would look to filter out old Ben and Farm Boy Luke and put Chewbacca and 3PO and Chewie, which are one character, which is why we're calling Chewpio. If you farmed for Starkiller, you could put a 5th character, either Sith or Empire, in with the Palpatine team, and then just fire in Darth Talon to give her a home. If not, use another Empire character that you maybe farmed, which I'll come into in Phase 9. You could maybe use different characters in that slot. Dash Rendar could be used with Scoundrels mainly, so Dash with Bandor Chewie and Young Han, and then just to get some usage of Zalbar and Mission, we'll put them in there as well, and that just rounds out that team for the teams that we've already farmed. Remember, this is early on, this isn't going to be your teams that you use forevermore. Some of these teams will hit the sidelines and get very little usage, but to begin with, when you're strapped for teams and gear, use what you've already farmed and then replace as you gain better characters. So that's my recommendations for an early GAC battle. It should hold you in good stead to hopefully at least pull in the top 4 and get that 500 to 750 crystal win. If you're doing well in fleet, you could be potentially getting 50 to 100 crystals out of fleet, and you could work towards bigger fleets from there. Okay, so we need to choose our Galactic Legend and we need to flesh out our roster. My recommended Galactic Legend, due to all the changes, is Jabba the Hutt. He's got a lot of usage in the new Krayt Dragon raid, as well as Darkside territory battles. Any raid he could be used in, not just Krayt Dragon. His characters are all bounty hunters, or primarily bounty hunters, so you farm up a lot of stuff that's used throughout the game. He's got 2 big farms of C-3PO and Jedi Knight Luke, who needs Wampa, Hermit Yoda, Rebel Officer Leia Organa, which is why I recommend to start farming them early on. So if you can, go for Jabba. It's a longer farm, but you'll get there. So whilst we're going for Jabba, we could farm out any other the rest of the requirements using the teams prior to this slide as our core teams. If you're not wanting to go for Jabba and you want to go for something else, then steer your journey to that character. If it's Galactic Legend Rey, if it's Sith Eternal, Lord Vader, you choose. It's totally optional for yourself depending on what characters you like. Now this is all this is all dependent on the guild that you're in. If you can't get into the Hutt into the Krayt Dragon raid, then Jabba's far out. But the teams that we built prior to this will help you get to that Krayt Dragon raid. So because we need relic 8s, which you can't get the materials for unless you run the Krayt Dragon raid. So that might be a deterrent factor in the Galactic Legend choice. So the teams that we could start building out on the journey is we could start building out Mon Mothma with Kyle Katarn, Bistan, Cara Dune and Scarif fighter, that will help build up a rebel fleet. So we can start building up rebel fighters as our light side fleet. And if you watch a content creator Gerbil, he discusses why Akbar's fleet is fantastic early on until Executor is on the table, and he's been pulling top in fleet from the very start. So worthwhile farming that out. Throughout the guide, once you farm the ships up that you've already farmed to get that Zeta challenge, pick a fleet and always be building a ship or a couple of ships a time out as you're going through the levels, because the ships are the biggest grind. They've never been put double drops, they're only one shard drops, so where you could find some space to farm a ship plus its pilot, you won't go wrong ever. So a second team to make use of Darth Talon is Darth Traya, which is farmed out the guild activity, Darth Nihilus, Darth Talon herself, Savage Opress, and Darth Silo. We could have an Ewok team. They're not very good, but they could give some people some trouble, and they could get through some things, and they could be used in territory battle for some nodes. So they'll get a use, but we need them for C3PO. And C3PO's could go into a CLS team. He's used for Jedi Knight Luke, and he's a requirement for Galactic Legend Jabba the Hutt, as well as General Anakin Skywalker. So it is worth the investment in some Ewoks to get the C3PO unlocked, so that you could unlock the events when you get round to doing them. We finish off the Darth Rendar squad, and that's done by putting in Fennec Shand and Beskar Mando, and that's if you're going for Jabba. If you're going for Jabba, fire them in. Beskar Mando anyway, but Fennec, the 5th slot could be open depending on what Galactic Legends you're going for. The reason I say Beskar Mando, it will come more apparent after I go through the next team. So the next team will be our bounty hunters to get Chewbacca. So we could use Bosk lead, or we could use Aurra Sing. Both are good leads. We're going to use Beskar Mando, original Mando, Zam Wesell, Boba Fett, and Greef Karga, or we could use Bosk, IG-88, Cad Bane, and the one I forgot to put in there, which is Dengar. Now the reason I never put Dengar in is because he doesn't have a ship. That's why I put Cad Bane, IG-88, Bosk and Boba in there. They all have a ship, and then Mando, Greef and Cara Dune with Queel and IG-11 get Beskar Mando, who has another ship, and that helps you get all your ships ready for Executor, which would be a recommended first big Galactic Legend capital ship that I would recommend going for. So if you go for that gives you good fleet, and it gives you a solid Galactic Legend. The game's your oyster, you could choose whatever you want. That's the recommended squads that I would go from there. So that being said, that is my farming guide for 2023. It's the first farming guide I've done for the game. If it's well received, I might do a more consolidated guide of where I would recommend for going for different Galactic Legends, not necessarily from level 1, but just if you were to do this journey, how you would prioritise the farms. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like and a comment, and let me know if you would follow this guide, or if you think it's lacking or have any better suggestions. Leave them in the comments. Even if I don't cover them, somebody else might read the comments and pick up some helpful hints for their journey. Thanks for watching, and stay salty.